class, want to conduct our classes more so on how to write NOAA circuits, and of course, we will be looking at how to use Foundry. First of all, how to install it. Now, Foundry normally is used in Solidity, but it can also be used in the NOAA circuits to do verification, proof verification, proof generation, and proof verification, and so on. So that is why we need this Foundry. But we have what we call Foundry projects, and those ones are basically Solidity contracts. You know, we are working on NOAA. So NOAA, we also require Foundry, but it's not coming there as the main thing. It's just coming there to support basically in the area of proofs generation and verification. So that is why we have to do it. So just to begin, as intro, of course, I'll be taking you through how to install Foundry, and then in another class, I'll be taking you how to now use it in proof verification, proof generation, and so on, while you are doing your NOAA circuit. So Foundry is a high-performance Ethereum smart contract development toolkit, and that is why I said is normally used in Solidity, mostly. So if you wanted to come up with the smart contracts, Ethereum smart contracts, and then you require Foundry. Now it includes tools like Forge, and this is what we want today when we are doing our proof verification and proof generation. We'll require this Forge. And so it's a very good tool that we'll be looking for. It also requires Cast for interacting with Ethereum networks and contracts. Now, so to install it, we shall be using a WSL. And of course, now I'll take you to WSL and take you through the steps of installing Foundry until we use it on our visual code. So that's what we'll be doing. I've already installed it, but in the commands, sometime you can also install it. But for me, I've already installed. So for you to install Foundry, what you require are the following. You require Windows 10 and above, which is WSL enabled. You also require WSL, require internet connection, and then you also require Visual Studio Code. So those are the things we require. So if you do not have them, it's good that you begin by installing them before you install Foundry. So I'll take you through the steps of installation. Each one of them, I'm assuming that you don't have WSL, but most of the students I'm talking to, they don't have this. But supposing we may have other new students, and since we are those who may not have installed. So for you to install WSL, you will open PowerShell as administrator. You open PowerShell as administrator. PowerShell open, you just come to the start. Is it the start button of your power? You will see PowerShell there, and choose to open as administrator. And then you use this command to install WSL. So you just copy this command, WSL, some space, -- install, and then paste this on the terminal of the PowerShell. It will install WSL. After installing, you'll have to restart. So then you launch your Ubuntu from the start menu and set up your user. Now, what does this command do? This command would enable features required to run a WSL, and also would install the default Linux distribution Ubuntu. So that is what this you do it in the PowerShell, and of course, remember that PowerShell, you open it as administrator to be able to do this. Remember I said you require Windows 10 and above. Supposing you have all Windows versions, then you may want to just install by clicking on this link. There's a link here. Of course, it's here. You can just, it's here. So you then download. This one you then download. When you click it to install, you would then follow the prompts on the screen to install WSL. So this is the other way. So if you have this PDF, you can just click here. And when you click it, it opens directly. This is a clickable link. Or you can also click here. There's no problem. It's the same thing. Now, after installing WSL, remember our mission is to install Foundry. So before you install Foundry, we said there are requirements. There are some prerequisites you need to have, because it's the one to install. Now you also install dependencies. Now that you have a WSL, you now use it to install dependencies. So if you copy this link, this command, and paste it in WSL, and then press enter, it downloads and installs dependencies. These dependencies are what you require for building and compiling Solidity contracts. If you have to build and compile Solidity contracts, then you require these dependencies, so you can also install them. And then after that, we can now install Foundry, and this is what you wanted. You have your WSL, you have your dependencies installed. Now you can proceed and install Foundry. So the terminal of WSL, you can copy this link and press enter. So this installs Foundry. It installs Foundry. Of course, once you press enter, what follows will be on your screen, and it'll be very easy to follow. Just follow the instructions and until you install it. Then after that, you run Foundry. Again, write Foundry in your terminal WSL and press enter. So that means if you had already installed WSL, then you would begin from this step. You would begin from this step, or you would begin from the step of installing dependencies, and then come to installation of Foundry. Now, once you write Foundry, this will automatically download and install latest stable versions of Foundry's recompiled tools. So it will download and install tools like Forge. And remember, I said we require this Forge, this Cast, this Anvil, this Chisel, but our interest today will be on Forge. But all of this will be installed, downloaded and installed. All of them will be installed once you run Foundry. So remember, you run Foundry after running this. After running this, curl, some space, -L, and so on. Just copy this link. It's complete link. It's complete. The format I was using to write is the one that made this one faint, but it does not mean that it's not part of this. It's part of it. And begins and ends with bash. So it's just what I was using to write is the one that made this part to be faint. It should not be seen as it's not part of the command. It is part of the command. That is the entire command. You just copy it and then paste it in your WSL. And then after you followed the on-screen instructions, you then write Foundry, and then it installs the Forge, the Cast, the Anvil, and so on. Now, so I'm not doing this practically because I've already done it. So, but if you've not done it, that means you've not installed, then these are the steps you're supposed to follow. You may also want to install, but this is optional. What follows here is optional. You want to install the latest nightly build. So if you want to install the latest nightly build, then after Foundry, you would again say Foundry space dash install space nightly, and then press enter. Now, if you want to see more options of what you can install or how you can run and so on, you can write after the installation. You can in your terminal, WSL terminal, you can write Foundry space -- help, and then you can see what you can, the options you have, how you can run, how you can use Forge, Anvil, Cast, and so on, and how to run them. All those options will be available. So once you run this, you can see what you can do with Foundry. Now, for more on this installation, there's a book, and this is the link for the book. If you click on this, I think this is installation completely. It's supposed to be installation, but it appears to be not full, but it's the installation. So there's this book. And so when you click on this link, the book opens, and you can read more on what you can do with the Foundry, how to install, what else you can install, what you require to install, and so on. So this book is available, it's online, so you can do that. Now for Windows users, I've added some notes here, and I've said it's important to note that Foundry does not work with PowerShell or command or CMD. JIT or use Windows subsystem for Linux WSL. If you want a guide on how to install WSL, I've already given a guide, a book for installation of Foundry. But if you want a guide on how to install WSL, again, you can, if you click on this link or copy it in your browser, then you are able to see a guide on how to install WSL. Now there's something here on verifying binary integrity. And this option is optional. This is not a must. If you want it, and I've said Foundry binaries are attested by a GitHub artifact. So to verify the integrity of the forged binary, if that is what you want to verify, then you can copy the link in your WSL. This link is done in your WSL. Press enter. If successful, you should see similar to this: verification succeeded. And attestation details will then follow. For instance, build a repo, assign a repo, workflow, etc. So once you run that, and if it is successful, that is the message you should see. And again, this is optional, is not must. What was a must was that we had to install Foundry, and that is what we've done. Now, remember I said the prerequisites for you to use Foundry, and one of them, again, is Rust. Good enough, most of you already have Rust, but for those that do not have, you need to install it, and this is how you install it. And this one, you just that using a stable version of Rust. Now, if you get any hiccup or any problem during installation, you can always reach me on my WhatsApp, or even email, or even my GitHub, no, on LinkedIn, on my LinkedIn or Twitter. It's no problem, any of those. But now Rust can be installed WSL, or you have WSL now, and so you can install Rust using WSL. So how to do that? And of course, you know, this Rust is required for Foundry, to build Foundry tools. So therefore, it's important, it has to be through WSL. Now, to install Rust using WSL, just as we've installed Foundry above, open your WSL terminal and then run this command. Run this command. So curl, space, and so on up to. This is the end of this command. Tap and press enter. You will follow the on-screen Rust. So it's a very easy thing, just like that. So after that, you may want to restart your shell. If you don't want to restart your shell, then you can just use this link. It helps you to restart it without necessarily having to close it. You see, the option was that you run this link, this code, then after running it, you close your WSL, then restart it. And I've said, or if you don't want to restart it, after running this link, this code can also run. So this code do, this command. What does this command do? It installs Rust compiler, and it also installs manager, which we call cargo. And you remember how we used to do cargo in cargo new, cargo what. So the commands will be using cargo. So that is what this command does. The command installs Rust compiler and also installs cargo. Now you may want to check whether your installation was successful. To check if your installation was successful, you write rustic space dash, and if you are able to see the version of Rust, then it means that the installation was successful. But if you don't see the version, it means the installation was not successful. Now, the other thing we need is the Visual Studio, and of course, that is what we'll be using to write our code. And so we can also install it for those who have not installed. And again, we're just using our WSL, to do this. You can do it using cargo install. So you just copy this link and paste this link in your WSL, and it downloads and installs. You can also clone. This is Foundry. You can clone it. You can say git clone. So this is a GitHub where Foundry is. So you can, if you say clone this, it brings this GitHub main or master, and then you can cd Foundry. Then when you cd Foundry, you can now run these commands: cargo install path, creates forge, and so on. Run this other command. These ones you can just copy all of them and run them at once. Once you are inside Foundry, you can run those commands. So this is not actually the installation of Visual Studio. Visual Studio, you can, I know most of you have installed. What I'm just talking about installing using cargo install is Foundry. If you're installing Foundry using cargo install, remember we had installed it using another format up there. So there are several ways you may want to install it. You also want to install it using this format, supposing the earlier one did not work. And this is not the only format. You can also install it from GitHub, a branch where Foundry is installed. For instance, supposing you have GitHub, let me say your Foundry is installed on the branch called master. So we'll just say Foundry -- master. So you just copy this or copy this. It depends. Now this one, the branch is your branch, or the branch where you know Foundry is used on GitHub. So this method here is important for installing Rust and Foundry, and is useful for installation, for installing a custom build from a branch or from a local source. That is from a place where Foundry is, so you can install it. there. But of course, I already shared a book that can guide you on how to do that installation. Not necessarily a book, but I think this here, this is where the information on how to install Foundry can be found also. You can use Foundry -rs or Foundry toolchain, GitHub action to set up Foundry in a continuous integration CL pipelines. Now, about installing Foundry, all the information is here. And so there are various ways of installing Foundry. I've just touched 3. And those 3 are also touched here. So if you go here, you can get all the details on how to do that. You can also use Foundry in Docker. So Docker can be used when building locally in problematic e.g. Apple M1. So that is to do that, you pull the latest release. You have this command docker pull and so on. This is the command you copy and paste inside on the terminal of the terminal WSL. Copy this command, paste there, and then press enter. Or you can really go with source docker build space -1 space Foundry, and again it installs. So again, if you want to know more about Docker guide, you can link, and this link will assist you to learn more about Docker and how to use installing. So once you install Foundry, then you need to use it. I know what to use and the methods outlined above. To install. Now, so from Okay, sorry, I think I was muted. So let me just repeat. Let me repeat the process. Let me repeat the process. I repeat the process of where I was using a WSL. Let me come back to my WSL. Okay, so this is, I was muted from this part. So let's just come out and come out. So I said, when we open, this is where we begin, it's here. So when you open your WSL, it comes this way. Now, so you want to do your Foundry project. You want to do your Foundry project, you would ask yourself, where do you want it stored? So for me, I want it stored inside my Rust programs. This is where I usually store my projects. So when I enter, I am there. Now, so I want to begin a Foundry project so that I can write my smart contract and so on. And remember, what we are doing here is for smart contract, and this is not our main focus today. Our main focus today is to use Foundry as a helping tool in no projects, where Foundry will be used to do a proof generation and proof verification. So that I'll come to that later, but I've begun with the general use of Foundry in writing Solidity contracts. So if you wanted to write Solidity contracts, what you would then do, you would say initialize, not forge, initialize. Then the name of the project, I'd written new trial. Let me now write trial again, then press enter. So when you press enter, it begins by initializing and then installing Forge. Remember, it had already installed, but every time you say initialize, Forge initialize, it has again to install. So you can see it initialized. The name of my project is trial again, and then it cloned into this. It cloned into this. So you can see even some of the links I had given my notes are here. Then after that, it begins. And whatever it does, once it's done, it says done, done, done. And then after that, it says it has installed Forge. And it gives us the version that has been installed as 1.9.7. Then it says it has initialized the Forge project. Now, so it's our duty now to enter that project, so that we now want to edit our project. So I say CD a trial again. So we are inside that project. So what then follows is that we need to open this project using our VS Code so that we are able to edit it. So I would say code space dot, then press enter. So this then opens the VS Code. it has decided to update it. Okay, let's be patient and see. But the thing is, we've already initialized our project. Alternatively, if I think that it's taking long, I may want to close it and open it again. But it's almost there. Let's just wait. Okay, from my end, it has opened. Once it completed running, it opened VS Code. So from my end, I have some VS Code, some that I want to share. So let me share the VS Code that it has opened from my end. Okay, I think you can see on the left, I'm pointing on my left side. You can see trial again. Trial again. This is what we formed, the project we formed. Just above it, we have what we call GitHub. Inside GitHub, we have tests.yml. And if you click it, this is what you get. CI. Okay, let me reduce this. Is another file here called a lib. If you click it, we have under it, we have GitHub, we have scripts, we have SRC, we have tests, and then you have Foundry Toml. So it comes already inside there. What is inside this test? The SRC. SRC has the following, these ones. So it's not the main.nr that we are used to, but this is what is inside SRC. Okay. A test has this, the following. We have all these .sol. Most of them are .sol, and so on. We also have this part. We have this. So you have all these files. You have package.json. We have readme. This here, so you only require to edit where necessary. So you'll be editing according to your what you've written. Then we have another. This was scripts. But we have script here with the counter.sol, counter.s.sol. Now inside this script, okay, inside this, okay, we had some SRC here, and that is what it had. We have another SRC here, and it has this counter.sol. What about the script? The script also has counter.s.sol, but this one has counter.sol. Then we have test here. This test has counter.t.sol. So these are things to be editing later if you wanted to write a smart contract. Solidity smart contract. These are things you'll be editing later. This is not our focus today, but I've just shown that after you've installed Foundry, there are many things you can do with it. You can write Foundry project. you can use it to write a Solidity contract that will then deploy on Ethereum and so on. Now, but as I said, that it was not our focus, but it's good. We will, of course, we will come there later. We will want to writing smart contracts later. And of course, when we do that, we'll be doing using Foundry project. And I've just hinted what we'll be doing. So when we do forge initial, it creates a substate test in that, and then you can build and test. You can compile a contract by forge build. When you forge build, so now, so this is what this is the default one that opened when that was created. So we've not done anything to it. So let's just try in terminal and write forge build and see what we get. Okay, I'd already done it. So when I did it, it already compiled. So that is why when I do it again, it says no file changed. So that means everything is still intact as it was earlier. So can change something. I don't want to change. If I change it, it will begin. So let's try forge test. I don't know whether you have it will run, but let's just try forge test and see what we get. Okay, it has run. It has run successfully and said no files changed. Compile, run 2 tests for test counter t.sol, and then they all passed, and it says sweet result. Okay, 2 passed, 0 failed, 0 skipped, finished in 1 something, and so on. So that is how you do it. What about, okay, there are so many things. There's so many things you can do. So you can do forge build, you can do forge test, and so on your smart contracts. Remember that what the one we are running is just the default one that opened when we initialized. But if you're doing, you may want to edit it so that it is what you want. And the commands you'll be using after editing are just forge build, forge test, and so on. Now, I'll not go through the process of installing VS Code. I think this is what I wanted to mention earlier on, and I went to something different. But I'll just refer you to this. So you look at this later and see how to install. But this one, we've already used it. code space and then a dot. That is when you are opening your initialized project in VS Code. So that is what you use. Now, so our target today is to use Foundry as a support tool in our projects. That is what we wanted. And the one for writing the contracts above was just a by the way, because it's one of the roles that Foundry does. And for us, we wanted to stick to how Foundry is used in our projects. Now, so why Foundry? We are saying that we use Foundry to support ZK circuits developed in NOAA. So NOAA would then be handling writing of the ZK circuits in .nr files, proving and verifying circuits locally, exporting solidity verifier contracts. We've already done this with NOAA in our previous class, and we've seen it work. This proving, verification, exporting of solidity verifier contracts. But now, if Foundry is to come in to support, Foundry will then be compiling and deploying solidity verifier contracts to test nets and Anvil. It will also be used in writing integration tests for ZK circuits, and it will also be good for running scripts to automate proof verification. Automate proof verification. Why Foundry comes in? But now we'll be doing the rest as it has always done in our previous lessons. And then Foundry comes in at this point to do compiling and deploying solidity verifier contracts to test nets and Anvil, and also do writing integration tests for ZK circuits, and then running scripts to automate proof verification. So what will be the workflow? What will be the workflow? The workflow is the first thing you do, you write the circuit, as we always do, and you run using the command nago compile, nago execute. Then you would export the verifier. Once the verifier has been created, you would export it using nago. Okay, this is an old way, Codigen verifier. Codigen verifier, but there is a current way where now we are using the Forge. At this point, we may use Forge to do that. And then we would deploy the verifier using Forge or Foundry, and then test the verifier with the proofs on chain. We would test the verifier with the proofs on chain. So this will be the workflow. This is what we'll be doing in our next lesson. We would want to write the circuit, export the verifier, then deploy the verifier, then test the verifier on chain. That's in our next class. Now that we've installed Forge, we've installed Foundry, and we have Forge with us, we will do that. So when you're doing the NOAA project, what will be the structure? We saw the structure of the Foundry project, the one I just shared when we opened the Visual Code. But now, if we are doing the NOAA project, the structure will be the name of your project, and then circuit. Inside the circuit, we would have Nagotomil, we would have the SRC with the main.nr. Remember, in our NOAA project, in our Foundry project, we do not have main.nr. But in our NOAA, we have this. We have the main.nr inside SRC. And then this is the first folder, and then inside we have this. These two are inside here. And then we have the other folder called contracts. And inside this contract, we have the foundry.toml, and then we have another SRC. And this SRC does not have the main.nr. What it has is the verifier, the verifier.sol. The verifier.sol is inside the contract. Let me say it's inside SRC, which is inside the contract. So that's our second folder with the files inside it. And then the other folder is the tests. The tests. And the test has the verifier.t.sol. And then the other folder is the script. And inside the script, you have the deploy.s.sol. This is the script for deployment. So using it for deployment. And this one is for Foundry integration tests. And the verifier here is for verifier deployment. So when we write our NOR project next time and want to use Foundry, this is the structure. This is how it should look like. So we'll be targeting to ensure that you have something like this. Now, so we have some notes here, circuits. So you saw the circuits. This will be managed by Nago. So this is what I'll be saying: Nago compile and Nago execute. It must be inside the circuits. The contract has contained the solidity verifier. And then the forge tests or forge scripts and Anvil smart contracts will be used for testing and deployment. So that is what forge test, forge script, and so on will be used for. Now, so one thing that I've not included here is that we want to automate. We will want to automate our tests, our proof verification, proof generation, and so on using build.sh as we did in our last lesson. So this, we will place it inside our contract. No, inside our circuit. Inside our circuit, because it's supposed to be where Nago.toml is. So here is where we will automate our proofs generation. You can even have run.sh. Can have our keygen.sh and so on. We can have all of them inside the circuit to automate our those processes, a key generation, a verification of proof, and so on. Now, I think that is where I need to stop our lesson today. We've looked at how to install Foundry and how it will be used, especially for us in our projects. And we've seen its role in our projects. And we've also seen the structure of that NOR project, how it's supposed to look like. So that in our next class, we'll be looking at now how to arrive at that project in the structure it is in. Now, so just to assist you revise, you can look at these resources later, just clicking on these links or copying it in your browser. and then reading more on what you just covered today. Thank you.